Opinion, I'm Asher Westropp-Evans, inviting you to prove me wrong. So I'm about to lay out some shit. Not because I'm the first to say it, not because I think this makes me edgy and contrarian, but because it's something that needs to be said loudly and on repeat until it starts sinking in to even the thickest of skulls. The fact is, people suck at predictions. This little market of ours, the crypto space, is rampant with those that think they have the gift of foresight, constantly predicting a future for crypto markets that, on the whole, trends way up towards the positive. Now, I love me a little positivity. As I always say, an optimist and a pessimist are both headed to the same graves, so you might as well go there with a smile on your dial. But I'm also a realist, and the realist in me says we need to calm down. The fact is that there are very few in the crypto predictions market, and to be clear, it is a market, that don't have a vested interest in the industry. Whether that be an investment or a livelihood, for better or worse, these modern day mystics are looking to ensure the future of the fledgling industry. But, I hear you asking, why do their interests matter? Why should we care so long as the data and methodologies they use are sound and the results pertinent and relevant? Well, here's why. In 2010, Pew Research Center found that in the United States, around 41% of Americans believed that Jesus would probably or definitely return to Earth by 2050. Now, I'm not here to poo-poo on anyone's belief. It is entirely possible that 50 million Americans might be right this time. But the oft-prophesied second coming has failed to materialize before. I mean, Jesus predicted his own return within a single generation in Matthew 24:34, and 500 years ago, Martin Luther predicted that Judgment Day would occur within the next 300 years. And I start to question, if these guys managed to get it so wrong, what makes today's average American Christian so sure? The fact is, people are naturally bad at predictions, but in a more nuanced fashion, are particularly bad at predicting negative outcomes for themselves. Look, people aren't so naive as to think that just because something is important to them, it will happen. No man or woman is an island. Rather, they tend to think that most other people share their beliefs, and thus the future they endorse is quite likely. What researchers call projection bias explains why individuals so often miscalculate election predictions, because they assume that others have political opinions similar to their own, and this extends beyond that. People think their chosen candidate is more popular than she or he actually is, because they live in a bubble of their own belief, residing in an echo chamber that feeds back at their own version of the world. Are you getting where I'm going? And this is where the problem arises for cryptocurrencies, because those that are in such a fledgling market are ardent believers in the system they are helping to build. These projection biases impact their view on the future. Yes, it is entirely possible that the global system of finance will collapse and the blockchain ecosystem will rise out of the ashes like a phoenix hell-bent on saving mankind from its own hubris. But in all likelihood, things tomorrow will probably continue to look a lot like they did today. And while cryptocurrencies may be a revolution, they also may end up assimilated into a gradually shifting financial market. At the height of the crypto market fever, back in January of 2018, renowned investor and the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, famously said of cryptocurrencies, "We'll never have a position in them. I can say with almost certainty they will come to a bad ending." If you don't recall, this was an interesting time for crypto markets, because in the short term, Buffett was damn right. From January 2018, where the crypto market peaked at $815 billion, to just a few months later in April, where it had dropped to a humble $250 billion and generally trended lower and lower for the next year from there. It would seem that Buffett, who had an interest in predicting the failure of a market he had chosen not to be a part of, was vindicated. His projection bias suited him in the short to medium term. But here we stand now, 2.5 years later, not dead, not tapping new highs, a market sitting at a healthy $360 billion with plenty of upside potential, but also a chance to drop back into the doldrums. The fact is, we need to be wary of anyone with a hard answer to the questions of tomorrow, because people are biased, short-sighted, and ultimately bad at prediction. But you know what? Prove me wrong. I'm Asher Westropp-Evans, and this is Immutable Opinion.